Well, it's another beautiful day, and interestingly, at the beginning of another awesome week, a week that will be truly blessed. And you do know how we always enjoy starting off things right here on Viewpoint Atlantic TV. Is the dailies. And for review today, as always, we have 7 papers. We have The Nation, the Daily Sun, the Daily Trust, Nigerian Tribune, as much as the Vanguard, the Guardian, and most certainly the Punch. And you do know I always enjoy starting with the Punch newspaper to see what they have as a puncher. And on the Punch this morning, the lead story reads, we seem to have a lot as it concerns at the front page of the Punch. And on the Punch this morning, the leading story reads, 5 DCGs to lead 1,516 officers out of Nigeria Custom. Riders to follow, Custom faces a generational shift, 17 ACGs, 25 controllers, and top brass prepare for exit. And pre-retirement leave begins as agency sets July 31st deadline for exit-related complaints, and over 1,500 custom retirements statutory, not CG succession plot. And this according to the reps chair. But it's retirement bombshell, but get more of it on page 2. Let's see if we take some other leading stories still on the front page of the Punch. Ekiti governorship polls, Tinubu hails Oyebanji as ADC PDP reject results. Is also a screamer on page 7. And let's see if we take some other leading ones. JAM Axis affiliated degree courses in College of Education. It's a screamer on page 20. Dangote imported 1.46 billion liters of blended gasoline. And this according to the NMDPRA on page 39. Labour knocks government as fake payouts hits 10.4 trillion naira. It's also a screamer on that same page 39. Ex-OGTV broadcaster got found dead inside of an apartment, a sad one. And anytime we hear the killing of any journalist, it's really heart disturbing, and our heart really goes out to the family and the people of Ogun State. But you can get that story on page 5. By-elections, APC sweeps Nasarawa, Enugu, Kano, Ondo, PDP holds Rivers. And we'll be holding a critical look on that later on Dialogue, but I'll just tell you to read up that juicy story on page 8. The picture of the day is members of the All Progressive Congress celebrating after the declaration of Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebanji as the winner of Saturday's governorship election in Ado Ekiti. And this picture was taken yesterday during that time of jubilation and celebration. That's much we can take from the Punch.
Let's check out stories making it to the headline on the Guardian newspaper. And on the Guardian newspaper, the leading story reads, from airports to airline, government sink over 500 billion naira in new carriers and fleets is on page 6. And let's see if we can get more of the leading stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Report estimates 279 kidnapping nationwide in May. Was quite a huge numbers, and can get that on page 3. Atiku Amechi presidential bid on settles ADCs on page 3. And still on page 3, federal government took 1.1 trillion naira from MAFAC revenue before sharing, says Oye, still on page 3. Let's look and get more of the leading stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Oyebanji re-elected in landslide victory as observers identify gaps ahead of Osun polls is on page 6. When solution to open defection deserves more than political statements, can get more of the analysis on page 4. Sanwo-Olu Bakare lead calls for governance. Geoeconomics reform is on page 5. Osun Accord, PDP won INEC against release of unclaimed PVCs to APC is a major one on page 7. 74% of retailers need credit, only 80% access formal loans. It's still a major one on page 5, and the picture of the day is that of the executive director of the Alternative Bank, Garba Mohammed, CEO Sterling One Foundation, and others during the representative for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Nigeria, Arjun Jain, at the Africa Social Impact Summit 2026 press conference held in Abuja on Wednesday. Well, that's much you can take on the Guardian this morning.
Well, I feel the Nation newspaper will be the next paper I would love to look at. And you do know, on the Nation, we seem to have a whole lot for us to quickly look at on the Nation newspaper. And like I said, on the Nation this morning, the lead story reads, Ekiti polls, how Oyebanji won. Victorious governor visit PDP rival, president urges winner to be humble. And I tell you to just humble yourself and get more of that story up on page 3. Let's see if we take some other leading ones. Tighten security raises hope of release. As terrorists relax stand, and you can get that on page 4. Senate, APC wins in Ondo, Enugu, Nasarawa, as PDP takes Rivers and Southeast, is on page 4. What's on page 15? CBN targets $51.04 billion external reserve by December. Well, will be pretty nice. And we might be looking at this still later on dialogue as we look at the state of the nation. No religious persecution evidence in Nigeria, says United Nations official. And that story is still on page 26. And yeah, we still have a whole lot to still take on the nation. If we do, okay, well, it looks as if more like a lot that the governor of Borno State has done. And we're talking about 7 years of Babangana Zulum in the Hems of Affair in Borno. And you could see educational projects. You could see a whole lot that he really did in the space of about 7 years. Well, that's the much you can take from the nation.
And still on Dailies, the checkout stories making around on the Nigerian Tribune, and quite to have a lot on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. And on the Nigerian Tribune, the leading story reads, still on the front page, talking about the insecurity to top agenda as senators reconvene tomorrow, and the riders to follow Akpabio Oshomolet's field may deepen as governor, as Edo governor, not our reasons for reconvening, says Senate spokesman. Lawmakers free to move motions on any subject. It's on Major 1 on page 2. And still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, Labour braces for change as UK Prime Minister Starmer's exit looms, is on page 4. Orire abduction, troops close in on kidnappers' hideouts. And the riders to follow: 168 high-profile terrorist commanders neutralized. Abdulsalami urged Nigerians to unite against terror, support security agency to defeat evil, is a screamer on page 3. Let's see if we can take more of the leading stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Tinubu Oyebanji, APC celebrates Ekiti governorship victory. Its validation of Tinubu's government, says Oyebanji. Nigeria Bar Association applauds peaceful, orderly polls. Ekiti election reflects polling unit results, says Yaga Africa. And there's a Major 1 on page 2. And on health, saliva tests can predict dangerously sleep-deprived persons. Wow, scientists reveal. It's a Major 1 on page 6. Page 8, rather, and the picture of the day is that of the State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun, Ekiti State Governor Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, Chairman, Progressive Governors Forum, Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodinma, and the Director General, Ekiti APC Governorship Campaign Council, APC Coalition Officer Senator Siri, during the presentation of the results of the governorship election to Oyebanji at the Governor's Lodge at Ekiti on Sunday. Well, that's much you can take on the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Well, as much as that happened on Sunday, I feel we need to go to Daily Sun now and see what Daily Sun has as a major. Could be the same, could be different. On Daily Sun, Orire, adoption, hope rises for adopted peoples and teachers. As security operative in Cycle Forest, step up rescue effort. Abdulsalami mobilized Nigerians against terrorism. And I'll tell you to mobilize yourself and get more of that story up on page 6. Let's see if we take some other leading one. Flood, windstorm, destroy shops and farmlands in Ebonyi. It's quite a disturbing one on page 29. Well, the rains have come, but it looks as if it's taking a longer twist and more of a dangerous one. Well, anyway, we seem not to have a whole lot on the front page of the Daily Sun, but what we do have as a screamer on front, and more like the picture of the day, is that of a congratulation message to no other but the governor of Benue State. And we're talking about Reverend Father Hyacinth Alu. He was given an award for the recognition of infrastructural development as it concerns Benue State itself. And that award was given to him on Thursday, the 18th of June, 2026. Funny enough, it happened in Abuja, not Benue State. But that's the much we can take from the Daily Sun.
Trust you're having a good time here on Dailies this morning as we look at Daily Trust newspaper. Yeah, and on Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the leading story reads, Toji's new appearance sparks concern. There's a Major 1 on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Trust. And still on the front page, APC battles petitions 4 days to opening of INEC portal is on page 8. Kano businessman dies in girlfriend's house.
Wow, that's a straight way to hell. Well, I don't know.
Well, you can get more of that details on page 10. NDLEA arrests grandfather for allegedly selling drugs to students. Wow. Wow, that is Well, you can get more of that on page 25. And still on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, seems to be a major one talking about the Zulum 7 years of sterling performance with over 1,500 projects. And of course, is not slowing down on its developmental stride in Borno State. And we can see a graphic representation of all the projects that he is actually doing, talking about education, talking about 26 projects and others. Well, with that, that is much you can take on the Daily Trust this morning.
Well, anyway, Vanguard will definitely wrap things up as we look at the dailies this morning. And on Vanguard newspaper, the lead story reads, Troops block escape route as terrorists reduce demand. And we're still talking about the Oyo School kidnap, and I'm laughing because I felt they were indeed feeling they were in control. But riders to follow, kidnap kingpin, indigene of Irere, local government radicalized by Ansaru group, and police Igboho clash over release of kidnapped victims. That news broke out only on Friday, and we've been having a whole lot. But I'll tell you to read that story up on page 30. 6 out of 7, how APC swept Ekiti governorship election and 5 by-election, lost Rivers to the PDP on page 5. Oil sector reps threaten sanction over poor PIA implementation is also on page 8. Serap wants 110 billion naira recovered from lawmakers after court void allowances and others. Would they return the cars? I don't know, but page 9 has more of that story. And more financial Vanguard. Wet season farming frustration hit farmers over sharp rise in input cost. Is also a screamer on page 11. Terrorists invade Kebbi community, burn buildings, adopt residents. Is quite a disturbing reign of terror on page 6. Let's go to a lighter note and let's go to Mr. and Mrs. Column. Always interesting. Mrs. has to say the first shot. At 30, what's stopping your sister from getting married? Yeah. Mr. had to reply, her name is Mary. She needs someone to add letter R to Mary to complete the word marry. Letter R? Well, anyway, yes, ring. Oh, yeah, somebody needs to give her a ring. But anyway, the picture of the day is that of the presentation of certificate of return to that of the Ekiti State governor. And, well, you know, a whole lot of dignitaries were there. But he was given that certificate of return as being elected as the governor of Ekiti State. And honestly, that happened in Ado-Ekiti just yesterday. But that's the much we can take from the Vanguard and the dailies this lovely Monday morning. Yeah, we'll always implore you that you find any really interesting. Why not do yourself a favor and read them up? But before you do that, stay with us, still remain with us, because dialogue will take center stage next right here on Viewpoint on Atlantic TV.